World War II, a global conflict of unprecedented scale, erupted in 1939 and lasted until 1945. It involved more than 100 million people from over 30 countries, making it the most widespread war in history. This devastating conflict left an indelible mark on human history, reshaping the world in ways that are still felt today. From 1939 to 1945, nations clashed in a struggle that engulfed vast swathes of the globe, involving battles on land, sea and air. The war saw the mobilization of entire societies and economies, forever altering the geopolitical landscape. The conflict brought together world leaders in a series of high-stakes conferences where strategies were devised and alliances were forged, shaping the course of the war and the post-war world. Millions of soldiers and civilians perished, victims of battles, bombings and atrocities that shocked humanity. The war's brutality was unprecedented, with entire cities reduced to rubble and countless lives shattered. The horrors of concentration camps, the plight of wartime refugees, and the relentless bombings left deep scars on the collective psyche of the world. The war tested human endurance, pushing individuals to their limits and beyond. It left physical and psychological scars on individuals, families, and entire nations. Beyond the immediate casualties, World War II had profound and far-reaching consequences. The war shattered empires, redrew national borders, and led to the displacement of millions of people. The aftermath of the war saw the reconstruction of devastated cities and the redrawing of national borders, as new nations emerged and old ones were transformed. The war also gave rise to new superpowers, with the United States and the Soviet Union emerging as dominant forces on the global stage. It ushered in the atomic age, with the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki demonstrating the devastating power of nuclear weapons. The end of World War II set the stage for the Cold War rivalry that would define international relations for decades as the world divided into opposing blocs. Its legacy is etched in the collective memory of nations, serving as a stark reminder of the human capacity for both extraordinary courage and unspeakable brutality. The stories of heroism and bravery, as well as the tales of suffering and loss, continue to resonate, reminding us of the profound impact of this global conflict on the course of history. The outbreak of World War II was the culmination of a complex interplay of factors brewing for decades. The world was a tinderbox, waiting for a spark to ignite a global conflict that would change the course of history forever. The seeds of conflict were sown in the aftermath of World War I, which left Europe physically and emotionally shattered. The war had devastated entire cities, leaving behind a landscape of ruin and despair. Soldiers returned home to a world that had been irrevocably altered. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to bring lasting peace, instead sowed the seeds of resentment and instability. The harsh terms imposed on Germany created a sense of humiliation and anger among its people. The treaty's punitive measures were seen as a betrayal by many, fostering a deep-seated desire for retribution. Germany, burdened by crippling reparations, became fertile ground for nationalist ideologies. The economic hardship was palpable, with hyperinflation rendering the currency almost worthless. This economic despair was a breeding ground for radical ideas and extremist movements. The treaty's harsh terms, combined with the economic turmoil of the Great Depression, fueled a desire for revenge. Breadlines and mass unemployment became common sights, and the public's discontent grew. The global economic crisis only exacerbated the already volatile situation in Europe. In Italy and Japan, nationalism and expansionism were on the rise, leading to the formation of the Axis alliance. Both nations sought to expand their territories and influence, driven by a belief in their own superiority and destiny. The signing of the Axis Pact solidified their intentions and set the stage for a broader conflict. The rise of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party in Germany proved to be the catalyst for global conflict. Hitler's fiery rhetoric and propaganda galvanized a nation desperate for change. The Nazi Party's promises of restoring Germany's former glory resonated deeply with a populace yearning for hope and direction. This set the stage for the most devastating war in human history. As tensions escalated, nations sought security in alliances. Two main blocs emerged, the Axis powers and the Allied powers. Germany under Hitler formed the cornerstone of the Axis, driven by a desire for Lebensraum in Eastern Europe. Japan, seeking dominance in Asia, joined the Axis. On the other side stood the Allied powers, united by their opposition to Axis aggression. Great Britain, led by Winston Churchill, stood defiant against Nazi Germany. The United States entered the war after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. The stage was set for a global conflict, a clash of ideologies and ambitions. World War II was a conflict of unprecedented scale and ferocity. It engulfed nations across the globe, drawing in millions of soldiers and civilians into its devastating vortex. The war's impact was felt in every corner of the world, from the bustling cities of Europe to the remote islands of the Pacific. From the frozen steppes of Russia to the beaches of Normandy, millions of soldiers clashed in battles that shaped history. These battlegrounds became the stage for some of the most intense and pivotal confrontations of the war, where strategies were tested and the resolve of nations was put to the ultimate test. The Battle of Stalingrad stands as a testament to the human cost of war and the unwavering spirit of those who fought for survival. This brutal confrontation between German and Soviet forces lasted for months, with both sides enduring unimaginable hardships and losses. The city's ruins bore witness to the fierce determination of its defenders. German forces, initially confident of victory, found themselves locked in a brutal urban battle against a determined Soviet enemy. The fighting was intense and relentless, with every street and building becoming a battleground. The resilience of the Soviet defenders ultimately turned the tide, marking a significant turning point in the war. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched a daring amphibious assault on Normandy known as D-Day. This massive operation involved meticulous planning and coordination, with thousands of troops, ships, and aircraft working in unison. The bravery and determination of the Allied soldiers were instrumental in breaching the heavily fortified German defenses. D-Day marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi control. The success of this operation paved the way for the Allied advance into occupied territories, bringing hope to millions who had suffered under the oppressive regime. The liberation of Paris and other key cities symbolized the impending defeat of Nazi Germany. In the Pacific, the Battle of Midway proved to be a pivotal naval engagement. This battle saw the American and Japanese fleets clashing in a fierce struggle for dominance. The strategic importance of Midway Island made it a critical objective for both sides, and the outcome of this battle would have far-reaching consequences for the Pacific theater. The American victory at Midway crippled the Japanese fleet and turned the tide of the war in the Pacific. This decisive win showcased the effectiveness of American naval strategy and the bravery of its sailors and pilots. The battle's outcome shifted the balance of power, allowing the Allies to take the offensive in the Pacific. These battles showcased the courage, sacrifice, and resilience of those who fought in World War II. The stories of these soldiers, their struggles and their triumphs continue to inspire and remind us of the profound impact of this global conflict. Their legacy lives on, honoring the memory of those who gave everything for a better future. As the Allied forces advanced, the Axis powers found themselves on the defensive. In Europe, the war reached its climax with the fall of Berlin in April 1945. Soviet forces encircled the German capital, subjecting it to relentless bombardment. Hitler, facing defeat, committed suicide, leading to Germany's unconditional surrender. On May 8, 1945, victory in Europe, VE Day, was declared. In the Pacific, the war raged on until the United States unleashed atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. On September 2, 1945, Japan formally surrendered, ending World War II. The world, weary from years of conflict, breathed a collective sigh of relief. The end of World War II marked a turning point in human history. Europe, devastated by years of fighting, emerged weakened and divided. The United States and the Soviet Union assumed the mantle of global leadership, their rivalry shaping the political landscape for decades. The horrors of the war, particularly the Holocaust, highlighted the urgent need for international cooperation. In 1945, representatives from 50 nations gathered to draft the United Nations Charter. The war also gave birth to the atomic age, a development that both promised progress and threatened humanity's existence. As the world rebuilt, there was a sense of both hope and uncertainty. The lessons learned from the conflict would shape the decades to come. World War II exacted an immeasurable toll on humanity. Millions perished, victims of battles, bombings, and atrocities. Civilians bore the brunt of the conflict, caught in the crossfire and subjected to unimaginable hardships. The war left countless families shattered, their lives forever altered by the loss of loved ones. Soldiers returned home bearing the invisible wounds of war, haunted by the memories of combat. The economic cost of the war was staggering, leaving economies in ruins. The rebuilding process would take years, if not decades. World War II stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and a call for peace and understanding. World War II, born of hatred and unchecked aggression, reminds us of the fragility of peace. The rise of Nazi Germany serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked ambition. The war highlighted the importance of diplomacy and dialogue in resolving international disputes. The United Nations, established after the war, stands as a testament to the commitment to peaceful conflict resolution. World War II underscores the importance of protecting human rights and upholding democratic values. The horrors of the Holocaust serve as a chilling reminder of the consequences of intolerance and discrimination. As time marches on, it is essential to remember the lessons of World War II. We owe it to the millions who perished to ensure that their sacrifices were not in vain. Remembering World War II means honoring the service and sacrifice of those who fought for freedom and democracy. It means preserving the memory of their courage and resilience. But remembrance is not enough. We must also strive to apply the lessons of the past to the challenges of the present. We must promote dialogue, understanding, and cooperation between nations. Let us honor their legacy by building a world where peace, justice, and human dignity prevail.